Good morning. Hey, all you beautiful, marvelous folks out there. So today I just wanted to encourage you to truly connect with the folks around you. So when we talk about what loneliness can do to us, we think about this sad, depressed state where we don't want to get out of bed and we don't want to roll off the couch and we don't want to go wash our hind end and we don't want to eat and we don't want to sleep. But the truth is that loneliness is totally wreaking havoc on millions of people day in and day out. They find that social network has become their true connection, and that saying hello to people when they pass them in the street, that has become the bulk of what has made them feel not lonely. But the reality is that hundreds of thousands of people are walking around on this mud ball called Earth, never truly connecting with another human being on a level other than hello at the gas station. Now, when we feel hungry, now that started long before that feeling of hunger actually happened. There was a trigger inside of us that recognized deficiencies in our body, such as low blood sugar or lack of fruits and vegetables that our body needs to work properly. And that feeling is invoked inside of us, and we're encouraged by this thing right here and this stuff right here to consume food. When we find ourselves thirsty, it happened long before the actual act of picking up the drink and taking a big old swig of it. It was triggered by our body's mechanism to hydrate and keep ourselves fully full of fluid so that this thing out here can work. But we get these triggers day in and day out that say loneliness is approaching. You are getting lonely, and we completely ignore them because we're not sad and depressed and laying up in the bed. We think everything is okay. But the reality is we were designed to connect with other people. It's who we are. If you go all the way back to the first folks that lived on this earth, they were collective in tribes. They found themselves connecting with other groups of people for survival. Now, why is that? Because the one sheer truth of loneliness can actually snuff out your life. Now, we don't think about loneliness as something that's dangerous in terms of our lifespan, but the reality is you have things such as obsessive drinking, obesity, all this other stuff that can take your life. And the reality is loneliness ranks higher in the percentage of deaths that occurs other than these major substances and major fit levels that are obvious on the outside. So we tend to ignore them. You know, if you were to take an animal and you were to put it into a small confined area, that animal would not just hang out and chill out in the sunshine right in the middle of that area. They would jump into self-preservation mode, and they would begin to walk the outline, walk the borders of this area that they're in, looking out for predators, being aware of their situation, because that is going to preserve their life. When a human gets into this loneliness state, they do the very same thing. They find themselves in a confined area and they begin walking the perimeter of their life to keep foes and people who would bring them harm out. They fall into self-preservation mode. This has the ability to cause us to feel defensive, where we see every single person outside of ourselves as a potential threat. So we begin to push them away. We begin to defend ourselves against people who don't even mean us any harm in the first place. We find ourselves not taking care of our bodies and our minds and our spirit and our emotions and our feelings. All of that. Think about it. If you're going into a dangerous situation, if you've got a sore leg, the last thing you think about is your sore leg because you're in danger. All that stuff totally ignites inside of you. All the adrenaline and the cortisol and all that stuff just totally gets going in your body, and you go into defensive mode. So you don't pay attention to all the little triggers in your body saying something's wrong here. Here's pain. Focus on this. Think about this. You need to be careful. You're going to get hurt here. When we are in this lonely state, the very same thing happens. There are triggers in our life that we really need to be paying attention to, but we actually deflect all of those thoughts and feelings because we're in self-preservation mode. So what are we going to do about it? What do we do when we find ourselves coming to the realization that we potentially are lonely? Well, we, number one, accept the fact that we're feeling this way. Trying to fight it isn't going to help matters any at all. We acknowledge what it is that we're going through. We understand the totally traumatic effects that loneliness can have on our bodies, our minds, our spirits, our emotions, our feelings. And then we put things in place to be able to come against that loneliness. Find one person that you can totally invest in and will invest in you. Get involved in collective efforts. Get involved in something bigger than yourself for something that's going to achieve something great. Get involved in groups. Get involved in, if you like to go to church, find a church that works for you. Get involved with people. See, there's the difference. We can post all day long. We can share our pictures. But if we are not involved with actual human beings who can wrap their arms around us, we are going to find that loneliness can totally snuff out what's important to us and what's important to the universe, which is our life. Today, you got a little bit of loneliness hanging out in there. I encourage you to do something about it. I love you so much, and you absolutely deserve a people-filled life. You matter. Rock out your day, buttercup. Word.